Well, hello, y'all. I'm so happy to be able to come back and be here with you guys in the Charlotte Mason curriculum chat number 13. Today, we're going to be talking all about timelines. And if you struggle a little bit with the Book of Centuries, I want you to know you're not the only one. I'm Dolly Freeman, and I am the creator behind the Charlotte Mason Way. And today, we're going to get into a bit of my favorite resource that I have used for probably 18 of my 20 years of homeschooling the Charlotte Mason Way, and share with you not just the resource, but how to use it in a different way other than the Book of Centuries. So if you're here with me, remember this is an actual chat where you get to interact with me, let me know some thoughts that you might have about the resource, and more importantly, if you have some questions about how to actually do this, I'd love to answer them. I'm here for about 15 minutes, so it's going to move kind of quick, so make sure you interact quite quickly so I know that you're here, and hopefully Facebook will show me the messages today. They're not always there with me. So I am actually going to post so maybe it will get, okay, I see my own comment, and it seems like that helps it move along. All right, so like I said, you may not be familiar with the Book of Centuries that Charlotte Mason encouraged us to have our children use to help them kind of like build out a timeline. And that will help them kind of like place the different things that they're learning about the different people, the different events, the different inventions, and all of those aspects of what they are learning in their lessons on a timeline so that they can actually begin to be aware of what was going on around the world at that exact time in history. Well, here's the thing. I bought the Book of Centuries for our children early on, and boy, did that thing overwhelm me. I don't know how in the world I was going to feel complete and a sense of accomplishment at the end of every school year when the majority of it was not even built in. I just kind of felt like we were not doing enough, that it overwhelmed our children. They just couldn't see too much in that small amount of time that we had each and every year. I could see that over their lifetime of actually using the Charlotte Mason Way and doing the timelines, that it would actually build out eventually. But we kind of wanted to have a bit of accomplishments each and every year. So with that, I kind of went to work to think, how are we going to do that? Before I get into showing you just how, which I'm really excited to be doing it because this is a viewer's question. This was a viewer asking me how we did this. I want to show you my resource that we have used for at least 18 years. This is the wall chart of world history from the earliest times to the present. I will say it is based on a Christian worldview. So it starts with the beginning, Genesis 1. If you do not like that, there are plenty other ones out there. This book, I don't think is in print any longer, but there is an affiliate link inside at the top of this comment in the post. What it does is it shows you like used, I can't remember exactly how much they are, but you can find them used. And this is a hardcover book, as you can hear, and 18 years, and it's still in good condition. All of our children have used this. So it starts at the beginning and it overlays. And so here you just see the different people. And then it has different maps, so you can kind of see of how the world would have looked back then. But as you get further along, you start seeing different aspects playing out. So you start seeing the different writings from different, the Rosetta Stone, the Tower of Babel. You start seeing these, and the different races are implemented into history. And we start seeing this. So hello, Cassandra. My daughter's Cassandra, so I always have to look. Hello, Cassandra. I think Master Books has a timeline based on Christian values as well. Perfect. But if you're a Christian, you're going to want to make sure the timeline fits your Christian view. This is one that we just love. So you have the people. And this will actually start showing you how the Tower of Babel began to disperse the people around the world, and that those civilizations started. So you have these different civilizations throughout. So this one's Greece. And you'll start seeing the mythology happening all the way back this time. And then as you turn the page, the history just gets fuller and fuller and thicker. And you'll begin to see inventions and events and landmarks and all of these wonderful aspects coming on. And this is how I let my children kind of gauge where they want to take their ideas, where they want to be inspired. And each of our children have, in fact, found different things that interest them. And this has been the springboard, so to speak, in how we work with our timelines. Hello, Lynn. Lynn says, I found this and snagged it this summer. Good for you. That's a huge find. Like I said, this is a resource. I make sure it's protected, and I make sure that my children work with it. They are careful because these pages, although they're thick, they're still easily ripped if you're not careful. So as you can see, it goes on, and it gets more and more details as the world becomes older. And then more and more divisions of the different nations are being formed. So I just absolutely love it. There's a guide on this. So here they have Christ. I don't know if you can see it. So then you have your BC and your AD. So it's a visual understanding of the difference in time and how we mark that as humans and on our timeline. So it gets really good, full details. This particular one, I think, I forget where this stops. But what I love about this, okay, is that you have your great explorers, the timelines of the different explorers. You have your 500 years of great inventions. You have significant events of the 12th century, wars and rebellions. So this breaks it up in topics for you. Perfect if you don't know history yourself, mamas. Perfect resource. Hello, Karen. Had a hard time logging in. Which resource is this? I'm sorry you had a hard time logging in. The wall chart of world history from earliest times to the present. It starts at the beginning of Genesis. Now, this is what's awesome. I'm going to fold this in half, and then I'm going to uncover it a different way. So now we're going to take what was here, this timeline that I just showed you, and then it opens up the opposite way. So there's no space that goes unused. So this is the United States history, and it goes all the way up to President Clinton. It talks about each president, any of the nicknames they might have, any of those important details you're going to want your kids to have. And then it goes into Great Britain, and it goes into Germany, and it goes into France. Are you seeing how valuable this timeline is? And it goes into Portugal and Spain and Italy and China and Japan. So it's a huge resource of the different countries as well. So you're going to be learning about the different leaders of each of these. So this has been the leading thing for us in planning out our history homeschooling. And again, each of our children would choose what they want based on their interest in here. So they pick out the people that they want to learn about, the inventions, the events, the landmarks, those types of things. And I'll show you exactly how we turned it into keepsakes is what I call them, but they can become portfolios for you, as this is completely different. This is something that, you know, today's education just doesn't work this way, right? And so you need something in most cases to get your exact state requirements satisfied so that you can do school the Charlotte Mason way. So this is what we did. I'm going to show you a few examples of what we call binder books. As you can see, it's 3 hole punches. I have a post on Joy in the Home. If you just search binder books, you'll be able to see how we pull these together. It's just 3 pieces of cardstock with tape in the center, hole punch. So I assign my children time periods. So creation to the Tower of Babel. So they study that. We go all the way from world history to us starts with Bible history. So we take this, and then I assign, oh, I hope I don't rip it. These become very frail. This is my daughter's back probably in 2009, maybe 2010. So she had to put in a certain amount of things in here about the different aspects. And so hers looks completely different than that of my son that was going through it at the same time. So she has in here the dispersions of Noah's descendants, and I feel like I'm ripping it. So you put it up, and she has a brief statement about that. She has some Chinese language. She has some quotes from the Bible, verses from the Bible, and then the Tower of Babel she designed. And if you open it up, oh, I'm so worried about ruining these because they're so old and precious to us. So here it is, or it talks about the Tower of Babel, how tall it was, the location, the present day location, all of that. So it talks about that. And then on the front page, it's the inside is the days of creation. So that one looks a little different. And they don't usually put anything on the back. So Karen says, trying to compare to my Adams chart. I don't know the comparison because I've used this one for 18 years. It's perfect for us, so I haven't looked for anything more. If you weren't here at the very beginning, I show page after page. So when it's done, watch the replay, Karen, and you might be able to see how it compares by opening up your own and comparing it from that. Lynn says, how young do you start letting them pick when, who they learn about? For me, it is important to have that in skill set before high school, because by high school, they're completely responsible for that. Middle school is when we kind of start working together. Let's see, our son is going into 4th grade, so I started to ask him a bit of questions about some of his books. But I don't give him freedom. He's just learning of how to actually do that. So around this age, he's not quite 10, he'll be 10 in December, I start asking, so did you like that book? You know, what did you like about it? So I can kind of get a conversation going between us, but I don't let him really get involved until middle school. Middle school, I'll start going back and forth. Hey, I'm thinking about this. Would that be of interest to you? What do you think about this handicraft? What do you think about this? And so he's helped guiding me, but he's not in control of it. And this is his skill, so I can kind of like direct him and say, that's a really good point, or that's not really good, so that he can understand what I'm looking for while he's honing in on building his skill of doing that. But by high school, they're completely in charge because they've learned the skills. So Lynn Smith says, do you tell them what to include, or do they put in what they want, or some of the both? I tell them what to include. So here's, so I give a printout of, let me see. So I tell them like what I want in each place. Let me show you a couple more while I go through this. So this is what I call the front lay. This is what I call the open lay right here. And then this is what I call, I'm looking at the open lay 1, the middle is 2, and then open lay 3. And then this, it's so upside down. This is called the inside lay, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So my kids know the conversation when I say to them. So the front is always has to include the time period. I have to know exactly. So Noah's son through the 12 tribes of Israel, and this is their time period for it. And then on the inside flap, the inside lay right here, this is always a map if it makes sense. Like creation, we don't have a map of that area, right? So this is their map, and you can see my daughter added some more things here. And then in the overlay, oh, I ripped it. I knew I would. So the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, is the timeline, and so they add details there. I've gotten more and more required. I require more and more as we use these. So on each, the timeline is divided into 3 parts. On each of these parts, I require them to have 10 entries. So a total of 30 things. And those things can be inventions, interesting facts that just stood out to them on the timeline, a landmark, quotes, one quote, one landmark on each page. And the timeline is, persons, arts, literature, events, things like that are really important that you want them to hold out. So I give complete artistic side to our children. My daughter was always very, very artistic in her books, as you can see. She put more attention to detail, where my sons were like, I'm just gonna get this done. You'll see my third child, who's 17, you'll see one of his books in a second from last year. And so you just want to make sure, like these books are going to have new tape put on it because I just ripped them. So you just want to, and it's not double-sided tape, you want to make sure there's Scotch tape enforced on the inside and the outside for easy bending. And you don't want the pages so close to each other. You want to give them, let's see, this one's better. I don't want to mess with that. Can you see how I leave a gap between it so that I can fold it? If you have them too close together, you're not going to be able to fold that. All right, so this one, you can see it gets it done. My daughter was always artistic. My son's not so much. So they use stencils. I have a variety of stencils that have different letters and numbers on it. So that's just a resource I've always had. So he just prefers the straight one. This is the time period for this. And his is newer, so I don't have to be so worried about it pulling apart. So here's the maps that are required. I just tell him I want maps at that time period. He chooses his own maps. They have to be colored and labeled properly. So, and he picked out the different things. As you can see, he did not label all of these as well. And so that was points that were taken off his final thing, because he did not get in as many on the timelines as expected. So he has his quotes, he has landmarks and information. So these are just little narrations, so to speak. He has full narrations that also go in his booklet, but these are just short little things that make of interest. And sometimes they do art on their own. Sometimes they use timeline figures of a resource that we have. And that's as simple as it is. They have reading on top of this. This is just to create that book of centuries that Charlotte Mason wanted us to do, but instead it's in a binder ability. And so we feel accomplished. We don't feel like that book takes forever to fill out. Karen says, where can we find more information on your binder system? Sorry, can't remember the actual name. It is, they're called binder books. So if you go to www.joyinthehome.com and then search binder books, they'll tell you how to make them, and it might give a little bit more examples of how it is that we use them. But that'll help you, Karen. But that is how we use timelines to help direct what our children are learning on their own and to build their interest around them. And what's so fun is when I look at the different ones that all of our children have created, they do not hardly have anything that overlaps. They have their own little things. And so the conversations around our table and vehicles, when we talk about different time periods, it's always neat because they kind of fill in the gaps of what we may not have caught individually, but we catch collectively as family. So it's always fun to see that happening. And this is something I do not require until a child gets into middle school. Prior to middle school, we are just focusing on, the reading, making sure that we are narrating well, making sure we are our exams are right so that they get the structure of what is required of them in written formation. So by the time they get to middle school, I help them learn a little bit of how to do these, and then I let go completely in high school, and sometimes before that. It depends on the skill of the child. All right, this is our last question, and then Lynn says, do you store these in their own book, or do you put them in pages in the grade book that you make? So yeah, I will show you my sons. I've got to move these around. This was my 11th graders. He was 11th grade. This was his grade notebook, and he has a history mark here. So here's all his history narrations that he's had to write through the year. As you can see, there's a lot of those, and he has it based on the different things. So he has a whole lot of narrations in here. And then he just puts these binders inside his history tab. So that's how we keep it organized. It's really easy to do, and it just works so well. Karen, you're welcome. All right, you guys, we went a little over, but that's okay. Sometimes it is necessary. So I was just happy to kind of give you that. I know most of you probably have started school or you're just about to. I know we're gonna like touch on some stuff next week. And you know, if you're not following me on Instagram, I think you probably will want to. The reason I'm saying that is because I'm gonna be doing some cleaning out. I'm not gonna tell you when exactly because I really don't know myself. My family thinks I do, but I don't. I'm playing it by the seat of my pants. I just got back from Canada yesterday, so trying to get into the feel of things. But I no longer have a little one in my home. My 9-year-old has just turned into this whole loving creativity time, and I need to move some things around so that he has more free time without me being involved. So if you like organizing, if you like getting new ideas, if you like to see a little peek behind my world, I encourage you to follow me over on Instagram. Same thing, the Charlotte Mason way. I'm going to be going live every once in a while and kind of giving you a little bit of behind the scenes of what it looks like when I move things around to organize for free time. All right, I hope to see you guys there and connect with you as well. But join me next Wednesday. Not sure the topic, and more likely I actually think I do know the topic, and it might be related. As I was going through, I'm like, ooh, they will want to know about that. So stay tuned, and most likely it'll be more about that. Would I consider doing a chat on organizing of school stuff? We might just have to do that, but first jump over on Instagram and see me as I'm kind of going through that, but we could possibly fit that in. I love how you guys are kind of pushing me along. I'm going to do one more curriculum chat for sure, and maybe after that curriculum chat next week, we'll go ahead and maybe switch it up a bit. All right, ladies, I'll see you next week, same time, same place, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Charlotte Mason Chats. See you then.